Welcome back everyone, it is Mike from ManaHoarders bringing you a Commander deck tech for another new Commander spoiled from March of the Machine, Ghalta and Mavren. You can cast this Commander for 3, 2 green and 2 white. You get a 12/12 legendary dinosaur vampire with trample. Whenever you attack, we can choose one. Create a tapped and attacking XX green dinosaur creature token with trample, where X is the greatest power among other attacking creatures, or create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is the number of other attacking creatures. I have to say, this Commander matchup is not one I was expecting, but not one I am exactly mad about. You get a gigantic dinosaur with a lot of good token generation ability. You can either go tall and make some gigantic tokens, or you can go wide and pump out a lot of smaller tokens to slowly overrun your opponents. Before we dive into the deck, let's go over a few key points. First up, the final price for this build came in at $89.21. This does not include the price of our Commander since we are so early in the spoiler season, we don't really have a good price to go off of just yet. But this will get you the other 99 cards, including all of your lands. But do bear in mind, some of these prices will vary greatly depending on the quality of the cards you purchase, the vendor you use, and a variety of other factors. And while I have you here, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the awesome content we have coming to you in the future. Now let's go ahead and dive into the deck. First up are our artifacts. Arcane Signet taps to give us one color of our Commander's color identity. Bow of Nylea gives our attacking creatures we control Death Touch, and it has a lot of other really good tap abilities. Idol of Oblivion, we can tap it to draw a card, but we can only activate it if we've created a token this turn. We can also pay 8 and tap it and sacrifice to get a 10/10 Eldrazi token. Mace of the Valiant, the equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each charge counter on Mace of the Valiant and has Vigilance. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under our control, it gets a charge counter. Oketra's Monument, white creature spells we cast cost 1 less, and whenever we cast a creature spell, we get a 1/1 white warrior creature token with Vigilance. Skull Clamp, whenever the equipped creature dies, we draw 2 cards. Sol Ring taps to give us 2 colorless mana. Swiftfoot Boots, the equipped creature has hexproof and haste. And Talisman of Unity, we can tap it for a colorless mana, or we can tap it for a green or a white and it deals 1 damage to us. Moving on to our creatures, we do have some legends helping out our Commander. Anara Wolvid Familiar. As long as it is our turn, commanders we control have indestructible. Bess Soul Nourisher. Whenever one or more creatures with base power and toughness 1/1 enter the battlefield, she gets a 1/1 counter. Then whenever she attacks, each other we control with base power 1/1 gets +X/+X, where X is the number of 1/1 counters on Bess. Kadira, Caller of the Small. Whenever she deals combat damage to a player, for each token we control we get a 1/1 white rabbit creature token. Jazal Goldmane has First Strike. We can also pay 3 and 2 white, and attacking creatures we control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of attacking creatures. King Darien. Other creatures we control get +1/+1. We can also pay 5 to put a 1/1 counter on him and create a token. And by sacrificing him, creature tokens we control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Prava of the Steel Legion. As long as it's our turn, creature tokens we control get +1/+4. We can also pay 4 mana to create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. The Queen of Names I won't even try to pronounce has power and toughness each equal to the number of creatures we control, and if one or more creature tokens would be created under our control, we get an extra 1/1 white soldier creature token instead. Torin's Fist of the Angels has Training. Whenever we cast a creature spell, we get a 1/1 green and white human soldier creature token. Trostani Selesnia's Voice. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under our control, we gain life equal to that creature's toughness, and it helps us populate. And for our not-so-legendary creatures, a mono-green creature that needs very little introduction, Avenger of Zendikar. Whenever it enters the battlefield, we create a 0/1 green plant creature token for each land we control. And whenever we play a land, each of those tokens gets a 1/1 counter. Bio-Waste Blob. Oozes we control get +1/+1, and at the beginning of our upkeep, if we control our commander, it makes a token copy of itself. Champion of Lambholt. Creatures with power less than Champion of Lambholt's power can't block creatures we control. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under our control, it gets a 1/1 counter. Elvish Mystic taps to give us a green mana. Guardian Augmenter has Flash. Commander creatures we control get +2/+2 and have hexproof. Harvester Druid gives us 1 mana among all mana our lands can produce. Herald of the Host has Flying, Vigilance, and Myriad. Impervious Greatworm. Since we are creating so many tokens, we can actually use that to help pay for the casting cost of this gigantic 16/16 indestructible creature. Juniper Order Ranger. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under our control, we put a +1/+1 counter on that creature and a +1/+1 counter on Juniper Order Ranger. Leafkin Druid taps to give us a green mana, but if we control 4 or more creatures, it gives us 2 green mana instead. Llanowar Elves taps to give us a green mana. Mentor of the Meek. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under our control, we can pay 1, and if we do, we can draw a card. Paradise Druid has hexproof as long as it's untapped. It can tap to give 1 mana of any color. Platoon Dispenser. At the beginning of our end step, if we control 2 or more other creatures, we can draw a card. We can also pay 4 to create a 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature token. Rumor Gatherer. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under our control, we can scry 1. If this is the second time it's resolved this turn, we can draw instead. Wayfaring Temple has power and toughness equal to the number of creatures we control, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, we can populate. Moving on to our enchantments, Battle for Bredegard. The first 2 lore counters each give us tokens, and the third one gives us a token copy of all of our tokens. Cream of the Crop. Whenever a creature comes into play under our control, we can look at the top X cards of our library, where X is that creature's power. If we do, we can put one of those cards on top of our library and the rest on the bottom in a random order. Ghostly Prison. Creatures can't attack us unless their controller pays 2 for each creature that's attacking us. History of Benalia gives us some night creature tokens, and the third lore counter pumps them up +2/+1. Intangible Virtue. Creature tokens we control have +1/+1 in vigilance. Paladin class. Spells our opponents cast during our turn cost 1 more to cast. Creatures we control get +1/+1, and for level 3, whenever we attack until end of turn, target attacking creature gets +1/+1 for each other attacking creature and gains double strike. Path of Bravery. As long as our life total is greater than or equal to our starting life total, creatures we control get +1/+1. And whenever we attack with 1 or more creatures, we gain life equal to the number of attacking creatures. Pollen Bright Wings. The enchanted creature has flying, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, we create that many 1/1 green sapperling creature tokens. Rabble Rousing has Hideaway 5. Whenever we attack with 1 or more creatures, we get that many 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. Then if we control 10 or more creatures, we can play that exiled card without paying its mana cost. Season of Growth. Whenever we have a creature enter the battlefield under our control, we can scry 1, and when we cast a spell that targets a creature we control, we can draw. And Veteran Soldier. Commander creatures we own have, whenever this creature attacks a player, if no opponent has more life than that player, for each opponent, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token that's tapped and attacking that player. For our instance, Druid's Deliverance. We prevent all combat damage that will be dealt to us this turn, and we populate. Harrow. We can sacrifice a land to search for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, and shuffle. March of the Multitudes has Convoke. We create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink. Rite of Harmony. Whenever a creature or enchantment enters the battlefield under our control this turn, we can draw. Rootborn Defenses. We populate, and then creatures we control gain indestructible until end of turn. Shelter. Target creature we control gains protection from the color of our choice until end of turn, and we draw. Sundering Growth. We destroy target artifact or enchantment and then populate. Warrior's Lesson. Until end of turn, up to 2 target creatures we control each gain. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. We will be including 1 planeswalker in this build, Basri Ket. The +1 ability puts a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature, and it gains indestructible. The -2, whenever 1 or more non-token creatures attack this turn, create that many 1/1 white soldier creature tokens that are tapped and attacking, and for -6, we get an emblem that reads at the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token, then put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. For our sorceries, Bond of Discipline. Tap all creatures your opponents control, and creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn. Cultivate. We can search for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal them, put 1 onto the battlefield tapped and the other into our hand. Harmonize. We can draw 3 cards. Hour of Reckoning can destroy all non-token creatures. Launch the Fleet. Until end of turn, any number of target creatures each gain. Whenever this creature attacks, put a 1/1 white soldier creature token onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Life's Legacy. We can sacrifice a creature to draw cards equal to that sacrificed creature's power. Nature's Lore. We can search for a forest card, put it on the battlefield, and shuffle. Rampant Growth lets us go get a basic land and put it onto the battlefield tapped. Shamanic Revelation. We draw a card for each creature we control, then we gain 4 life for each creature we control with power 4 or greater. And Soul's Majesty. We draw cards equal to the power of target creature we control. And last but not least is our mana base. We are going to be keeping things very basic with 18 basic forests and 17 basic plains. And just like that, we reached the end of this Commander deck tech for Ghalta and Mavren. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, Tell your friends about us and leave a comment down below. Let me know what commanders you're most excited to get your hands on once March of the Machine drops later in April. I really appreciate all of your support.